1 to 18. What does this mean? This is what it means. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service unto the personality of Godhead who is praised with transcendental songs is established as an irrevocable fact. So this is the quality of the mode of goodness, and this is the Brahmanical stage. Notice, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. The mode of goodness is not yet destroyed, and therefore this is to be understood as having reached the platform of uh, Brahmana. Tada rajastamo bhava. When one is situated as a devotee, then this base quality, rajastama, ignorance and passion, the symptoms, kama lobha dayascha ye, kama, lusty desires, and greediness, sex desire, strong sex desire, or satisfy the senses, eating too much, lobha, greediness. These things go. So this is the next text. As soon as irrevocable loving service is established in the heart, the effects of nature's modes of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankering, disappear from the heart. Then the devotee is established in goodness and he becomes completely happy. So he attains Shuddha Sattva. I'm not going into further detail because we will study this. Um, because even in the mode of goodness, there is some tinge of the modes of passion and ignorance. So even though we say that he has attained the mode of goodness, there is still some mode of passion, mode of ignorance, some tinge is still there. So the idea is when one progresses in Krishna consciousness, then he has to pass through the Brahmanical stage. There is no way one cannot be a sub Brahmana throughout his existence and imagine that he has attained Krishna Prema. No, that is impossible. That is absolutely impossible. These are the symptoms of Rajastamo Bhava. Tada Rajastamo Bhava Kamalobha Deyaschaye Cheta Etai Ranavitam. The mind is no more disturbed with all these things. Sthitam Satve Prasidati. Then he is to be understood. He is in the Sattva Guna. That is perfect Brahmanical life. Then he'll be pleased. Prasidati. Sthitam Satve Prasidati. He is pleased in the mode of goodness. In this way, gradual step. So, that is the idea. So Prabhupada's concept of that everyone should become a Brahmana is directly built up on this idea presented right in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Therefore, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur pointed out that spiritual progress means we have to, as a preliminary, attain the qualities of a Brahmana, of a qualified Brahmana. Now we may say, but I was not born with the guna karma of a Brahmana. So what is going to happen to me? I might have explained how this works. Actually, the varnas are broadly divided into Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra just by itself. But the Brahmana Varna has further sub-varnas. One could be a pure Brahmana. One could be primarily a Brahmana with a little bit of a Kshatriya nature. Or one could be primarily a Brahmana with a little bit of Vaishya nature. One could be primarily a Brahmana with a little bit of Shudra nature. Similarly, notice one could be a Kshatriya, and under this category, one could primarily be a Kshatriya with a little bit of a Brahmanical nature. One could be a pure Kshatriya, and one could be a Kshatriya with a Vaishya Sabvarna or a Kshatriya with a Shudra Sabvarna. Similarly, one could be a Vaishya with the Brahmana Sabvarna, Vaishya with Kshatriya Sabvarna, pure Vaishya, or Vaishya with Shudra Sabvarna, and all of them come under this Vaishya Varna. Then, if you look at the Shudra Varna, these are of course psychological Varnas. We are not talking of, we don't accept Varnas by birth. We accept Varnas only by Guna Karma. So notice this. Here you have a Shudra with a Brahmanical Sabvarna. Here's a Shudra with a Kshatriya Sabvarna, Shudra with Vaishya Sabvarna, and a pure Shudra. So let us say I'm a pure Shudra. When I take to Krishna consciousness, the idea is from 4.4 I move to 4.1, because when I chant Krishna's names and serve his devotees and I take to the process of Krishna consciousness given by Rupa Goswami following the Bhagavatam, gradually I'll develop some Brahmanical nature. So I'm still at 4.1, I'm still a Shudra, but I have now a Brahmanical subvarna. Then, when I increase my Krishna consciousness more and more and more, then I end up here. 1.4. My Brahmanical nature becomes predominant, my Shudra nature becomes subordinated. So now I'm classified as a Brahmana, but a Shudra amongst the Brahmanas. And then when I increase my Krishna consciousness more and more, then I reach 1.1, which is a pure Brahmana, fully qualified Brahmana. And this is exactly what Prabhupada had spelt out very clearly, that he has now come to the mode of goodness. Is come to the mode of goodness, and that is a preliminary requirement to understand and realize the Supreme Lord, his name, his fame, his qualities, and so on. And therefore, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, this is all indicated by this keyword dhimahi, which signifies the entire Gayatri mantra. There is a Gayatri mantra which all second initiated persons in Vedic civilization, those who have received the Brahma Gayatri, and in our system we have what Prabhupada called the second initiation, the Brahmanical initiation, they receive a mantra which ends with this dhimahi, and that dhimahi is an indicator of the entire Gayatri mantra, which is a further indication that the person has developed the qualification to study the Vedas. And by further extension, it means that this person is qualified to enter into the mode of goodness, the Brahmanical plane, the Brahmanical platform. So therefore, Srila Vyasadeva has purposefully invoked the Gayatri mantra by using this word dhimahi. Notice here, if you look at the original Sanskrit, the very last word is dhimahi, which means I do meditate upon. So the idea that is brought out is that unless we have the Brahmanical nature in body, mind, and words, then we cannot progress further in Krishna consciousness. And therefore, I make it a point to specify a non devotee is not a Vaishnava. And when one takes to Krishna consciousness, he engages in Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, but he does not accept dharma. He's not sinless. He may be committing sinful activities and offenses and so on. But then the next step is to become a Vaishnava who accepts dharma. At least he accepts sinlessness, nishpapata. He is nishpapa Vaishnava. Even if he's not engaged in uh, various positive injunctions, at least he does not engage in any of the negative activities which are prohibited in Vedic literature. And then he has to progress further. He has to become a sattvic dharmic Vaishnava. He has to come to the mode of goodness. I have to come to the mode of goodness. That has been specified. The Srimad Bhagavatam is adamant about this. And in fact, the Bhagavad Gita also, if you want to look in very carefully. And then we have to become pure Vaishnavas. And then we have to become perfect pure Vaishnavas. So this is the injunction. So we cannot escape from having to come to the mode of goodness. And therefore, right at the beginning, Srila Vyasadeva has indicated this by bringing in the Gayatri mantra, which is an identifying characteristic of those who are qualified to meditate on the Supreme Lord by the general Vedic scheme. Okay, let's continue. Srimad Bhagavatam is the narration of the Swarupa of the Lord manifested by his internal potency. And this potency is distinguished from the external potency which has manifested the cosmic world which is within our experience. What does this mean? The Srimad Bhagavatam is a narration of the personality of the Lord, Swarupa, the nature of the Lord or the personality of the Lord as manifested by his internal potency. What is the meaning of this internal potency? The idea is that the Supreme Lord, he has various potencies, and through what is known as his internal potency, he manifests the spiritual world. This is how he exists by himself. And this potency is distinguished from the external potency which has manifested the cosmic world. Let's take a look at this famous verse from the Vishnu Purana 6.761, which Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has quoted in his discussion with the Mayavadi sannyasis of Varanasi, uh, as referenced in Adilila chapter 7 text 119 of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Vishnu Shakti paraprokta kshetragyahya tatha para avidya karma sangyanya tritiya shaktirishyate. That the spiritual potency of Lord Vishnu, um, that is one potency. And then there's a potency known as Kshetragya. Kshetragya refers to the living entity, which is also spiritual. And then there is another, a third potency. Notice this expression: tritiya, third potency, which is known as ignorance or fruitive activities, karma. The potency of Lord Vishnu is summarized in three categories, namely the spiritual potency, the living entities, and ignorance. The spiritual potency is full of knowledge. The living entities, although belonging to the spiritual potency, are subject to bewilderment. And the third energy, which is full of ignorance, is always visible in fruitive activities. So notice that there are three potencies here, because this third, the ignorance potency, the potency of karma, material karma, obviously, is referred to as the Tritiya Shakti, the third potency. So that means this is the third potency, and the living entity must be the second potency, and the Supreme Lord has a superior potency. Now, the distinction between the living entity and material potency is well brought out in Bhagavad Gita, so we know that this must be the second potency, and this must be the first potency. So there are three different potencies. The first potency is distinctly called para, superior, superior potency. And you have another potency, which is kshetragya, the living entity. So from this we can understand that the Supreme Lord has the living entities as one of his potencies, and he has a superior potency. This is what we refer to as the spiritual potency, or the personal potency, or the internal potency. It is internal to him, it is not his external potency. This is bahiranga, whereas this is antaranga. This is internal potency. As Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has discussed, Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, chapter 8, text 151, Krishner Ananta Shakti Tate Tin Pradhan, Chit Shakti Maya Shakti Jiva Shakti Naam. There are unlimited potencies of Lord Krishna, and in that three are chief: spiritual potency, material potency, and the living entities or marginal potency. Krishna has unlimited potencies, which can be divided into three main parts. These are the spiritual potency, the material potency, and the marginal potency, which is known as the living entities. Antaranga, Bahiranga, Tatastha Kohi Jare, Antaranga Swarupa Shakti Sabar Upare. Internal, external, marginal. We refer to them in this manner. Um, the one whom we refer to as the internal potency, that is the personal energy of the Lord, and that is above all. In other words, these are all potencies of God: internal, external, and marginal. But the internal potency is the Lord's personal energy and stands over the other two. And then again, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives evidence from the same Vishnu Purana text that I had already quoted, uh, from 6761. So the idea that is brought out is that there is a great distinction between Krishna's spiritual potency and his external potency, or in other words, his material potency. The material potency has manifested the cosmic world, and here is the evidence for that. Bhagavad Gita 9:10, Mayadhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam hetunanena kaunteya jagadviparivartate. This material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. सृष्टि स्थिति प्रलय साधन शक्तिरेका छायेव यस्य भुवनानि विवर्ति दुर्गा इच्छाणरूपो यस्य च चेष्टते सा गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि. The external potency Maya, who is of the nature of the shadow of the Chit potency, is worshipped by all people as Durga, and this is his